You're about to watch $40 become $75 for the exact same tank of gas. You reach for the pump handle, the same station you have been coming to for 3 years. The guy who owns it knows your face. You don't even look at the price anymore. You just swipe and fill. $5.20 per gallon. You look again, because sometimes screens are wrong. This one isn't. 3 days ago, 3 days, you filled up at $3.49. And that's when you realize, this isn't a glitch. This isn't a mistake. This is worse than you think. Because this isn't just today's price. This is where prices live now. You swipe your card. You watch the numbers on the pump spin. You remember the last time you stood here 3 days ago and it cost $41 to fill your tank. You do the math now, in your head, in real time, the way you never used to have to do at a gas station. $73 for the same tank, for the same car, for the same drive to work you have been making for 6 years. Your daughter needs new shoes, back to school. About $65 at the store you usually go to. Your grocery budget is already tight. It has been for months. And you have a 45-minute commute. Each way, every day. You are doing the math, and the math is not working. This isn't just about gas. If this price holds, if this is where things live now, it doesn't just hurt the account. It changes the plan. The whole plan. The commute, the grocery run, the field trip envelope. The version of this month you had in your head this morning when you left the house. And somewhere on the other side of the planet, in a place most people cannot find on a map without help, something happened that turned your $41 fill-up into $73. Not once, not as a bad week, as the new normal. Everyone is talking about the war, the news, the politics, the missiles. But nobody is talking about what it means for your tank of gas, for your grocery bill, for the 45-minute drive you cannot stop making. So let's talk about that, right now. Exactly how a conflict 7,000 miles away reached your wallet this week. 3 months ago, gas was $2.99 a gallon. Your monthly fuel cost? About $130. You budgeted for it. It was a fixed, predictable line in your household expenses. You planned around it the way you plan around your phone bill. You didn't think about it. But fuel pricing doesn't work like a phone bill. It doesn't stay fixed. It moves with oil. Specifically with Brent crude, the international benchmark that sets the price for roughly 2/3 of the world's oil supply. When Brent moves, everything that runs on oil moves with it. And Brent, in the past 3 weeks, has moved to $120 per barrel. Some analysts say $150 if the disruption continues. Here's the formula that connects a barrel of oil to a gallon of gas in your tank. For every $1 that Brent crude rises per barrel, the price of a gallon of gas in the U.S. increases by approximately 2.5 cents. That sounds small, but Brent has risen roughly $45 per barrel in the past 3 weeks. $45 times 2.5 cents. That's $1.12 added to every gallon you buy. On a 14-gallon tank, that is $15.68 extra every fill-up. You stare at that number, $136 every month, that you didn't plan for, that wasn't in the budget, that arrived without asking. And the Strait of Hormuz is the reason it moved this fast. A waterway 34 miles wide at its narrowest point, through which 20% of the world's entire oil supply passes every single day. 1 in every 5 barrels of oil that crosses an ocean goes through that corridor. When that corridor becomes uncertain, when shipping companies reroute, when insurance premiums triple overnight, when tanker captains receive orders to hold position, the market doesn't wait for confirmation. It prices in the fear immediately. And then there is the LNG situation. Qatar, the world's second largest exporter of liquefied natural gas, is also affected by this disruption. Qatar supplies 20% of the global LNG market. LNG powers electricity grids. Electricity powers refineries. Refineries turn crude oil into gasoline. The disruption compounds at every stage. By the time it reaches your pump, it has already passed through 6 price increases you never saw. This is the thing about energy price shocks. They don't announce themselves. They don't ask permission. They don't wait for your budget to be ready. They just arrive, one Tuesday, at your regular gas station, in a number on a pump screen that stops your hand. That number on the pump, $5.20, isn't just a gas price. It's the end of a chain that started somewhere you've never been, in a corridor you've never seen, on ships you'll never board. And it arrived at your wallet this Tuesday. Before we go further, one question. If gas went to $5 tomorrow and stayed there, what would you change first? Your commute? Your shopping? Your weekend plans? Your job? Most people don't have a clean answer until it actually happens, and for millions of people right now, it has. You fill the tank, $73.14. You get in the car. You sit for a moment before starting the engine, because $73 used to be the amount you spent on a week of groceries. Now it's the amount you spend getting to work. This is the part where most people lose control of their budget. Not at the pump, at the grocery store, when the second bill hits before the first one has settled. And fuel is only the beginning, because here is what most people don't realize about a diesel price spike. Diesel isn't just for trucks. Diesel powers every product delivery in America, every box on every shelf, every pallet in every warehouse. Every item that arrived at your local store this week came on a diesel truck, and diesel just went up 24% to $4.66 a gallon. So you stop at the grocery store on the way home. Same store, same list you shop from every week. Milk, up. Bread, up. Chicken, up. Not because a drought hit a farm, not because a factory closed, because the truck that delivered those items this morning cost the driver more to fill up, and that cost gets passed, quietly, without announcement, to the price tag on the shelf. Then the school email arrives, on your phone, in the cereal aisle. It's about the upcoming field trip, $45 per student, payment due Friday. Your daughter has been talking about this trip for 2 weeks. You read the email twice. You do the math, because you are doing math constantly now in places you never used to do math. Gas, $73. Groceries, up 20%. Field trip, $45. That's $168 in costs you didn't have 3 days ago. And the Federal Reserve is watching all of this, because when energy prices spike, inflation spikes. And when inflation spikes, the Fed faces a choice that affects every loan, every mortgage, every credit card rate in the country. If they raise rates to fight inflation, borrowing costs rise. If they hold rates to protect growth, inflation embeds. Either direction has a cost, and both costs land on the same people, the ones who drive to work, buy groceries, and pay rent. California is the sharpest edge of all of this. Average gas, $5.20 a gallon. The national average already up 16% in 1 week, from $2.99 to $3.48. 1 week. That is not a trend, that is a shock. Here's the question that is following you from the pump to the grocery store to the school email. Do you cut the field trip and tell your daughter why? Or do you find the $45 somewhere else in a budget that is already stretched past where you thought the limit was? What do you do? That night, you sit at the kitchen table with a piece of paper. Not a spreadsheet, just paper, a pen, the way your parents did it. Because right now you need to see the numbers in your own handwriting to believe they're real. Monthly take-home, $3,800. Rent, $1,400. Car payment, $320. Insurance, $210. Phone and utilities, $230. Groceries, old budget, $480. New reality with inflation, $570. Monthly fuel, old, $130. New reality, $266. That's every dollar accounted for. Every single dollar. After everything, rent, the car, insurance, utilities, groceries, gas, after all of it, you are left with $304. For the month, for the field trip, for the shoes, for the thing that breaks, for every decision that wasn't planned, $304. You stare at the paper, $304. The number doesn't change. $304 against a daughter's school shoes, $65. A field trip, $45. The car service that is overdue, $120. A birthday next month. You haven't thought about the birthday yet. This is what a price shock looks like from the inside. Not on a chart, not in a headline. In your own handwriting, on a piece of paper, at a kitchen table, at 10:40 p.m. on a Wednesday. A price shock doesn't feel like a percentage. It doesn't feel like a chart on a news broadcast or a number on a financial website. It feels like standing in a grocery aisle, putting the bread back. It feels like reading a field trip email in the cereal section and doing subtraction. It feels like sitting at your kitchen table at 10 p.m. with a pen, paying for it that your parents' generation never had to do at a gas station. That is what inflation actually is, not an abstraction, a series of small subtractions from your budget, from your choices, from the version of your life you thought you were living. You didn't cause any of this. You didn't start anything. You didn't make any decision that sent a barrel of oil to $120. But you're the one sitting at the kitchen table at 10 p.m. with a pen, paying for it. That's the part nobody says out loud. And here's the question you haven't said out loud yet. You have been driving 45 minutes each way to this job for 6 years. At the old gas price, it was manageable. At the new gas price, you were spending over $3,000 a year just on fuel for the commute. Do you look for work closer to home? Do you ask about remote days? Do you absorb it and cut everything else? Or do you wait and hope the price comes back down? Most people choose the last option, and most of the time, prices don't come back down. You fold the piece of paper in half. You put it in the kitchen drawer, the one where you keep the takeout menus and the expired coupons, and the things you don't want to look at but can't throw away yet. You turn off the kitchen light. The next morning, you open your laptop before the coffee is ready. You have been putting something off for 3 weeks, a proper audit of what is actually discretionary in your monthly spending. You've been avoiding it because looking closely at a budget always reveals things you don't want to see. First, the fuel cost. The thing you cannot eliminate, because you cannot eliminate the commute, you can reduce. Carpooling 1 day a week, minus $53 a month. Combining errands, grocery run, school pickup, dry cleaning, into one trip instead of 3 separate trips, minus roughly $22 a month. Tire pressure. You have not checked it in 4 months. Underinflated tires reduce fuel efficiency by up to 3%. On your commute, that is about $8 a month. These are not dramatic solutions. They are arithmetic. Second, the grocery budget. The diesel spike is not going away this week, but buying proteins in bulk when they are on promotion reduces average cost by 15 to 20%. Meal planning before shopping, not a list, an actual plan, reduces food waste by an average of 31% per household. That is not a lifestyle blog tip. That is a studied, documented behavioral change that saves the average American family between $80 and $120 a month on food alone. Third, the emergency positioning. $304 of monthly margin is not a safety net. It is a delay. The car service is $120. If you skip it this month to cover the field trip, you are borrowing against next month's margin. And if something breaks, something that would have been caught at the service, you are not looking at 120. You are looking at 500 or 800. The math always catches up. You look at the laptop screen. You have a decision to make about this month's budget, about the field trip, about the car service, about whether to open a conversation with your manager about one remote day a week, a conversation you have been avoiding because you are not sure how it will be received. And for a second, just a second, you wonder if doing all of this is the right call. If the price comes back down next month, you'll have reorganized your whole life for nothing. What if you're overcorrecting? 10 seconds. You've been looking at this screen for 2 minutes. 5 seconds. The coffee is ready. The kids will be up in 20 minutes. You have to decide. Be honest. In this situation, right now, $304 left, field trip due Friday, car service overdue. What did you cut first? What did you protect? Tell me in the comments, because there is no right answer. There is only the answer you can live with. Here's what nobody tells you when the price at the pump goes up. The war didn't come to your door. It didn't send a letter. It didn't call first. It came to your pump. And from your pump, it came to your kitchen table, to your grocery aisle, to your daughter's field trip email. That is how a conflict 7,000 miles away becomes a personal finance crisis. Not all at once, one Tuesday at a time. You book the car service. You send the field trip payment. You draft the remote work request. 3 sentences, professional, specific, not apologetic. You close the budget tab, and you open the shared family calendar and block Sunday morning for the grocery run, with the meal plan written first this time, before the shopping. These are not revolutionary actions. They are the available moves, the ones that don't require the price of gas to come back down. 6 weeks later, the gas price has not come back down to $2.99. It probably won't. Not to that level, not this year. But something has shifted. Not in the price, in you. The way you drive, the way you shop, the way you read the news. You are driving 2 days a week with a colleague, saving $47 a month in fuel. Your grocery bill is running $83 a month lower than the peak because of the meal plan, because of the bulk proteins, because of the simple habit of checking what is already in the fridge before you write the list. The car service got done. Nothing broke. The remote work request was approved for Wednesdays. Your commute fuel cost down $60 a month. Your daughter went on the field trip. You drove her to school that morning. She had her lunch packed, the one she likes with the specific kind of crackers, and her permission slip, and the $45 in an envelope. She didn't know it had been a decision. She just knew she was going. Sometimes, the most important thing you do with a tight budget is make sure the people inside it don't feel the tightness. Here is what this episode was actually about. Not oil barrels, not the Strait of Hormuz, not the Brent crude formula. Those are the mechanisms, and they matter, because understanding them means you are not helpless. You can see the chain. You can see where your $41 fill-up became $73. But the actual lesson is this. Energy price shocks are not one-time events. They are systemic forces that ripple through every category of spending you have. And the only durable response to a systemic force is a systemic adjustment, not a one-week fix, a recalibrated way of living until the force subsides or until you are strong enough that it matters less. The tools exist: carpooling, meal planning, tire pressure, remote work requests, bulk buying. These aren't heroic actions. They are the available levers, the ones that move when the big levers, the ones you don't control, move against you. You don't control the Strait of Hormuz. You don't control Brent crude. You don't control what a conflict 7,000 miles away does to a Tuesday at a gas station, but you control the response. And the response, executed consistently, is the only thing that compounds in your favor. That Tuesday at the pump, When the number stopped your hand, you thought it was just a bad morning. By the end of the week, you realized it had already changed how you live. The price at the pump came down a little, not to where it was, but a little. And somewhere, in a corridor 34 miles wide, on ships you'll never see, in a market that never closes, the next price is already forming. The next Tuesday is already on its way. It doesn't ask permission, it just arrives.
What would you have done